Welcome, Mr. Philip 𝐏𝐡𝐢𝐥𝐢.
Thank you, Chair.
Karibu sana. My name is Nelson Makanda. I'm the chair of this selection panel, and we would like to thank you for taking interest in the advert that we gave out, asking for applicants for the position of member of the Commission of IEBC. And we also like to congratulate you for being shortlisted for the same. And so we will introduce ourselves, then after that we will come to you. Linda, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. 𝐏𝐡𝐢𝐥𝐢.
Good afternoon.
My name is Linda 𝐏𝐚𝐤𝐚. I serve this panel as the Vice Chair, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome you for your interview session. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair.
Mwasibu 𝐏𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢, jambo.
Jambo sana.
Naitwa ama jina langu ni Bwana Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa jopo hili la uteuzi. Na mwenyekiti, nataka niseme kwamba huyu ndio mwenyekiti wangu wa ISPAC. So iwe kwa daftari. Asante.
Okay. Asante, we take note. Kara, please.
Mr. 𝐏𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Caroline Kituku, karibu.
Asante sana.
Good morning, Philip.
Morning, Prof.
My name is Adam Solo. I'm a member of the selection panel.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Philip.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nicodemus Bore. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Mr. 𝐏𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢.
Good afternoon.
My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, a member of the panel. Please feel welcome.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Mr. 𝐏𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢, and karibu sana. My name is 𝐏𝐚𝐤𝐤𝐚𝐢, and I'm a member of this panel.
Thank you very much.
Afternoon, Philip.
Good afternoon.
My name is Evans Misati. I'm a member of this selection panel, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
Now, Philip, we come to you, and we ask that you introduce yourself. Tell us what those things that you think in your profile are significant for the role that you have applied for, but also that enable us and Kenyans to get to know you. Tell us if you are a member of any professional group and if you have received any award. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is CPA Philip 𝐏𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢, a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, number 3767. And I'm a member in good standing. Chairman and your panel, I need also to declare here clearly that I'm the chairman of ISPAC. In relation to my introduction, I'll start with education and then go to work and lastly go to leadership. Academically, Chairman, I'm currently pursuing a PhD in finance at Kenyatta University, and I'm in the thesis stage, thesis writing stage. So I've completed the coursework. I also hold a master's degree in finance, an executive master's degree in accounting and finance, and I have a bachelor of commerce in accounting. And more importantly, I'm a certified public accountant by training and by work. Other than that, I've taken other trainings just to boost my leadership. I have taken training in leadership at the Kenya School of Government. I have the strategic leadership development, a 6-week training. I've taken a certificate in corporate governance from the Corporate Governance Center. I've also taken a certificate training in mediation, and I have a certificate in public finance, public sector finance training which I did in Tanzania. Other than that, Chairman, I've done many other trainings on leadership sponsored by my employer and also sponsored by the Institute. I started working in 1997 at Parklands Sports Club, where actually I happen to be a member also as we speak now. I was employed in 1997 as an assistant accountant, but purely I started as a cashier in Parklands, served there for 2 years and got an opportunity after that. I moved and joined an international corporation, Asea Brown Boveri, ABB, where I joined as an accountant in 1999, served up to 2005 in the same position, but with a lot of international engagements here in Uganda, Tanzania, with our head office in South Africa. Thereafter, I was promoted to be the finance manager of Asea Brown Boveri in Kenya and served Asea Brown Boveri as their finance manager from 2005 all the way to 2012. So literally serving that institution for almost 13 years. And in that position, I traveled a lot because it involved us getting to the headquarters in Sweden, in the South African, Sub-Saharan Africa region. So there was a lot of travel and learning. Then I moved in 2013 under what we had seen under Justice Mutunga, the Mutunga reforms. There were adverts for professionals to join the judiciary. And I joined the judiciary in 2013. And my position then was Regional Assistant Director Finance. In that position, Chairman, I was posted to Nyeri County to be in charge of Nyeri County court stations and court stations in Kirinyaga County. So I worked there for that period of 2013, 2014, 2015. In 2016, Justice Mutunga appointed me as the acting director of finance. So I had to travel back and I came to the judiciary headquarters. I served as an acting director of finance, involving a lot of budget preparation, financial reporting, among other things. But again, I returned back to Nyeri in 2017 after acting for that period. And I served in Nyeri again 2017 and came back in 2018 again. I was appointed as a deputy director accounts, but in acting capacity. This was when we had the vetting of people, accountants and procurement officers. So I took over from whoever was there. Served in that position from that period up to December. And now I was retained in the headquarters, and my title now was changed to from regional to assistant director of finance, a position I serve up to now. In that position, I'm in charge of revenue and deposits for the judiciary. And lately, I handle assets of the judiciary. And one of the key milestones that I can mention for the time I've been in the judiciary, one is we automated our systems, and particularly we had a system which was internally adopted called Judiciary Financial Management System, JFMIS, which we have used up to the other day when we moved to an ERP system. I played a key role in that as an enabler. Number two, other than doing my roles as an assistant director in charge of revenue and deposits, I can indicate here, Chairman, that for the last 4 years, Judiciary has gotten a clean audit report on revenue financial statements. Under my leadership, of course, that goes to the accounting officer, but of course I do take credit because I'm in charge of that particular section. Further, I've been involved in policy formulation. And when we joined the judiciary in 2013, there were no policies in place. So I participated in the development of the finance policy of the judiciary. Still on policy, we have developed in the judiciary what we call a disaster management policy, which I was a member. Finally, on policy, I'm currently the chairman of the asset and liabilities policy at the judiciary, which is in its final stages. We're just about to present it for approval by the Judicial Service Commission. So in the judiciary, we've done quite a lot.
I'd like to stop you there so that we can move on in the interest of time. Let's take 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds. Under leadership, I'm a board member at CASNEP. CASNEP is a secretary. CASNEP is a Kenya Accountants and Secretaries Examination Board. I'm a board of trustees at Kenya 𝐏𝐡𝐢𝐥𝐢 University. I'm also a board member at the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, PAFA. I'm also a council member of the International Federation of Accountants, which is the umbrella body that takes care of the global aspects of accounting. I would stop there, but I also sit on the National Treasury Committee on transitioning to accrual basis. I was also appointed chair, although it didn't take up, on Presidential Task Force on debt management review, but it's a matter which didn't pick up because of a matter in court. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. 𝐏𝐡𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐤, you have a great wealth of experience in your career journey. I just want you to, tell this panel which, apart from the professional experiences and skills, which competencies do you have that will help you in the execution of your mandate as an IEBC commissioner? Outside your educational, line of educational background, which competencies will help you in the execution of your mandate as a commissioner?
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, and through the chair. The following are some of the competencies that are aligned to this position I did apply. One is leadership. You will notice that in my CV, there is a lot of leadership in various boards, including being a chair of ISPAC. So under leadership, I bring governance in a way that I've been able to be a vice chair of ISPAC. So I know the intrigues that go on within the boards, and also now as a chair, and I'm also in global and continental boards. So for me, leadership and governance would be key for me. And that would include consensus building, collegiality, which is very important for IEBC. But I'm also a strategic thinker and a critical one for that matter, Chair. And we under my leadership, we just launched the strategic plan for ISPAC for 5 years, the long-term strategic plan, which the Institute had never done since 1978. So I bring the strategic thinking in this IEBC. 3, financial management, accounting, and compliance reporting. I'm quite strong on that, and I expect that this will help me as a skill to look at the oversight part of the IEBC Commission. And in this, specifically accounting, because we know even if you do what at the polling station, whatever happens, you do voter education, at the end of the day, counting of votes must be done. So I bring my accounting skills there, including audit skills for purposes of oversight. Lastly, I am an enabler of technology, so automation, ICT knowledge. I have, from a perspective of a leader, I have been able to lead providing guidance on ICT, both at the judiciary, where we have now the technology taking up, and at the Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Now you don't need to go to our offices. You can be able to pay, get your receipt immediately, you get your practice license immediately, and you can also get your good standing immediately. We also have actually at the Institute, which technology we do not vote manually. We do electronic voting. So from an aspect of ICT, I bring that knowledge to IEBC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kakai. I wish you the best. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I want to ask Carol to ask you some questions. Carol, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kakai.
Thank you.
Before I ask you a question, the question I had for you, I am seeking clarity on your papers. On your papers.
Yep.
On your academic papers.
Yes.
Okay, Carol, just a quick check if you, Professor Anyande might have left his certificate on one of our tables. Please just check if it's there and pass. I don't know which one, but one of his certificates. If you see a document, please pass it over to Christine. Thank you. Continue, Carol.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kakai.
Yes.
When did you obtain your bachelor's degree?
2022.
And your master's degree?
2007. The first, let me just clarify that, Chair. What I did, I took the route of professional training first. When I left school, I took the professional training where I did the accounting technician and then did the CPA. Upon that, I was sponsored by my employer to do a management course, which was the Executive Master of Business Administration from MOE. You can check that. And then I did now the bachelor's with the many exemptions. Of course, you'll notice I've provided all the documents there in terms of transcripts. And then after the master's.
I just needed clarity because I noticed that your first degree was obtained after your 2 master's degrees.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure how that did happen.
Okay.
Anyways.
Did you say 2022 or 2016 for your bachelor's?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Master's, there's one for 2007.
Yes, we have 2 master's degree. We have one for 2007 from MOE, and we have another master's of 2022, master in finance, MBA in finance.
And the bachelor's degree in 2016.
Yes, that is correct. Okay. And now the PhD now in Kenyatta University.
Is the certificate here?
No,
It's ongoing.
It's ongoing. I've provided the transcripts for the
Okay.
coursework.
All right,
And
thank
a letter from the university.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't clear on that. I just needed clarity.
Okay.
Thank you. So back to my question. Let's speak a little bit about the independence of the IBC.
Yes.
IBC is established as one of the independent commissions in the Constitution, Article 248. What is it that makes IBC to be independent in law?
Thank you very much. Through the chair, there are two things. Only one thing makes IBC independent, and that is determination of the electoral process. Number two, delimitation of boundaries. That makes IBC, the decision they make makes it independent. However, IBC does not have financial autonomy. So the independence of IBC from a perspective of finance is not there. And that's why I'll be talking about assisting IBC in setting up the judiciary, the IBC fund, which we have actually set and operationalized in the judiciary. So in my own opinion, it is the decisions that IBC makes at the election that are independent.
Okay.
Of course, those decisions can be overturned by the courts and have been overturned by the courts, but they have the independence.
So apart from the institutional independence or the mandate independence, there are other things in law that actually speak to the independence of the IBC. You have spoken about the funding, which in your view, you say that it is actually not independent because of the nature and the way it is funded, and you compare that to the judiciary fund. I'll come back to that shortly, but before that, is there anything else away from the mandate of the IBC that speaks to the independence of the IBC?
Chapter, maybe if I could take note of that, all chapter 15 commissions have their independence. But like I mentioned, IBC's independence is particularly on elections and delimitation of boundaries with the various laws that are in there. So that would be my take on that.
Okay. In the nature and the manner in which the IBC operates, what is it that speaks to its independence? Get out of the mandate, the function and the role of the IBC.
One of the important things that IBC independence is clearly defined is voter registration, voter education, all the way to the management of the election, up to and including declaration of results.
Okay, let's come back to the funding issue.
Yes.
The judiciary fund is a constitutional requirement.
Yes.
That the Constitution has established the judiciary fund in order to make judiciary autonomous and independent away from the executive and other arms of government. Similar constitution, the Constitution has not established a similar fund for IBC. The IBC fund has been mentioned through the NADCO process and has yet not been operationalized, right? There is no law today that speaks to establishment of the IBC fund. So you said, should you become successful, that is one of the things that you're going to ensure that actually comes into operation and in use. So what are the challenges that you foresee that you're likely to encounter in seeking to establish the judiciary fund, and how do you seek to navigate those challenges?
Okay, in the IBC Act, I understand through the chair, the judiciary fund is defined in the Constitution, but we have other funds, including the Parliamentary Service Commission, that can set a fund through the PFM Act. Now, in the IEBC Act, there's a mention about the IEBC fund. But now, back to your question, is that we will have challenges. One, in establishing the fund through subsidiary legislation, which is not really the constitution. But it is important for us to move that direction in order to at least get some little independence for the commission in terms of funding, in terms of how money flows in and this will help even in the procurement processes at IEBC that take quite some time to come. I know, and from a finance perspective, I know that even the fund at the judiciary, which I am part of, is that there are challenges in terms of exchequer releases, but at least it's better. So my steps would be first to engage Parliament, of course with fellow commissioners, to at least pass a law within the framework of the IEBC Act and whatever legislation to bring it into law. Work with the National Treasury, look at the various regulations that may be able to help operationalize this particular fund and give justification to that effect. Because a fund, the better thing about a fund is that you do not return the money at the end of the financial year. So IEBC can be able to get funding continuously and plan their activities at least well, because there is the issue of you provide a cash flow, the money has to come on the 15th, but of course it doesn't come because we have challenges in the economy. But again, it's better to have it than not to have it, and then now work on how to make it successful. But it will help a lot and reduce costs at the institution. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. I invite Koki to take some questions, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Kakai.
Thank you.
Please tell us 3 broad phases of the electoral cycle. And in each of those 3 broad phases, name one activity for each. 3 broad phases of the electoral cycle and name one activity in each, so then I can ask you the question.
Thank you, through the chair. I would classify them the following. 1 is voter registration. And in voter registration, we have, of course, the registration of voters.
Phases of the electoral cycle. There are 3 broad phases of the electoral cycle.
Yes.
So you just name them, like one phase, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And then from each one of these phases, you name one activity from the phases.
Okay. One of the phases, I would call it voter registration. The second phase is registration of candidates through the nomination processes. And then there is the voting, which includes tallying. So under voter registration.
Those are actually activities that you have named.
Okay.
But let's assume that, let's just work with the activities that you have named. So based on your experience in audit, finance, and accounting,
yes,
and the competencies that you have very well outlined for us, how will that impact the implementation of voter registration, registration of candidates, and the other one you have mentioned? Those 3 activities you have mentioned.
Now, thank you again. Under voter registration, my skills and my competencies will apply specifically under what we call voter register audit, because that is very, very important, and we ought to carry out this exercise in 2 ways. We have to coordinate with the national government That is,
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
They will, in that segment, it will apply to audit.
yes.
The next one.
Registration of candidates. One of the key issues here would be nomination of the candidates, and then there will be the signing of the code of conduct by the candidates. And once they are registered in the system, they will have their certificates.
So how do your competencies apply to that?
Yes. Now, this registration and of candidates is very important, and that's why I bring the knowledge of automation. In this phase, we have a lot of many people coming to anniversary towers. And my thinking, if successful with my fellow commissioners, is to automate this process so that whoever is wherever can be able to log in, apply, receive his certificates, and of course there will be a verification of the documents submitted. So my knowledge would be very important here in terms of bringing new ideas on registration of candidates, not manually.
Are you suggesting that candidates will actually from their homes send the documents for nomination as candidates for the general election through virtually?
Yes.
And that they'll be verified virtually?
Yes. What I'm putting across is that given a timeline, it is important we automate this process. Given a given timeline, they should be able to log into the system, upload their documents, and then a parallel system where possible, the parties or independent candidates can be able to send their documents, and then the IEBC Secretariat and Commission can confirm and move, instead of us all assembling at anniversary towers on particular days. Thank you.
And will that require change of law, regulations?
Yes, at least IBC, Madam Koki, operates purely on law. Everything is, within the framework of regulations and all that. That will require just an amendment, a little amendment. Now, on voting, that is the other part in tallying. Now, my competencies and suggestions at voting is we can actually bring in, because we have not done what we call special voting, special voting in such a way that we can automate it, and we start with at least the presidential, because we have the military, we have the people in security, we have the sick, we have everything, and start with it at least so that we have this special voting that takes place. Two, we have the Form 34A. My suggestion is very simple, and of course the Supreme Court talked about it a little bit, is we have to have columns of valid votes, rejected votes, and at least stray votes, so that when we go to tallying, we are able to identify that these are rejected and these are stray and these are valid. And when we compute the 50 plus 1, we do not have this to struggle with which one are rejected and which one was stray. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you mean advanced voting by saying
Yes,
special voting? Okay.
yes, advanced voting.
Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. What will that do to the constitutional provision?
Chairman, I know what I've suggested would require some little amendments in the election laws. Just small amendments, a column in Form 34A to have stray votes and rejected votes, and now the real valid votes.
I'm talking about advanced voting.
Advanced voting, in my own opinion, is a requirement even in the Constitution. We should be able to allow everybody who is able to vote to vote, and that will reduce voter apathy. It will also increase voter turnout. And I'm making a suggestion that we can first start with the presidential vote, because these people are all over the place and they may not be able to vote for an MCA, a governor, or wherever. We can treat that through the way the prisons vote, at least to start with it. And then we progressively improve.
Okay, thank you very much. FCPA, please.
Thank you, Chair. Now, Bwana Kakai, public complaints are often dismissed or poorly handled at IEBC. And this has damaged the credibility. So if you are tasked with reforming this area, what solutions would you prioritize? That is how to handle public complaints and disputes. What solutions would you prioritize to ensure that they are properly handled? Thank you.
Thank you, FCPA. Through the chair, complaints in any organization will always have another complaint that they are not handled. From my thinking in that of if I'm able to join the fellow commissioners with my experience, I would, one, set up a public complaints area within the customer care, at least within the secretariat. And there are technologies which can receive those complaints, and they are able to respond them on time. But this requires that the commission makes very clear decisions on some of these complaints. There are complaints I would classify in two ways. Complaints that have to come to the main commission, which are written and they need to be processed. But there are these automatic complaints that come even from the wananchi about 1, 2, 3. I needed to know this, I didn't know this. But that would require a lot of education. But setting up a complaint center within the customer care would really, really be important, and provide the necessary technology to respond. At the moment, we have even chat, GPT, which can pick up and respond to your complaint based on how you have put it. There is WhatsApp, which you can drop your complaint and to be responded to. There are generic complaints that can actually be also be under what we call question and answer. A booklet can be available to also explain some of these issues because they are standard. But that would be my take.
Thank you. And lastly, IEBC commissioners are actually state officers. And the Kenyan law has provided some guidelines or some provisions on how they should be accountable. So from a policy perspective, how are IEBC commissioners held accountable? There are mechanisms through which the Kenyan law emphasizes financial property. So share with us how IEBC as a commissioner, how you'll be held accountable in this regard.
One is I'll be held, to start with, not just IEBC, by the code of conduct for my profession. Come down to the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012, but follow up with the Public Service Commission Values Act 2015. Not forgetting Articles 10, Articles 232 of the Constitution. We need to have all this embedded into the code of conduct of IEBC. But financial management is a big issue from a personal perspective. I would expect that one, the commissioners should be able to provide oversight, enough oversight, so that we...
What I'm saying, the law requires that as a state officer, in this case as a commissioner, there are certain things you need to do to ensure that there is financial probity.
Yes.
That are required by law. So, which is expected of every commissioner.
Yes. One, like I said, we have those various articles in the Constitution, the leadership and integrity, and then the codes of conduct of IEBC, including the charter, which I think is something that is very important, and that the commissioners must be able to sign off to this and be able to lead by example by providing leadership in terms of financial management at the IEBC, and not themselves to enrich themselves with whatever they may get involved in.
Thank you. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I invite Evans Misati to ask some questions. Misati, please.
Thanks so much, Chair. Wanakakai,
Yes.
I want to take you back to the election campaign financing. You're aware from 2013, it was pushed like a hot potato to 2017. 2017 was pushed to 2022. Now, as it stands, it's like the courts have also told IEBC go and do the regulations. But again, the regulations have to be subjected back to public participation. From where you sit, what are some of the challenges you can see that we are still facing in the campaign financing?
Thank you. And through the chair, it is true, the election financing and campaign financing, we participated at ISPAC to really push it in 2013. But then when you read it and it says suspended until 2027. Come 2027, it is suspended to 2022. We are also sure about 2027. Now, when I look at the regulations, as you've mentioned, within the election, the Campaign Financing Act, there are several things that may also be a little bit difficult to implement. But I must also courageously say here that there is conflict of interest in this thing. It has to go through Parliament, colleagues. And it is the same Parliament that we need to control. So from the starting point, there's massive conflict of interest, and it will not be that easy. So the election regulations will come into effect, but the same Parliament has the power to suspend the regulations and suspend the campaign financing. But if you ask me, like an accountant, this is something that is doable because we have clear cost drivers in a campaign, which have gone through twice now. And those cost drivers can be worked out and estimates done. And of course, give them a provision because there are certain costs you can't account for. Give them a limit that this total amount of money, then you don't need to give receipts. But generally, it is something that is doable, and it's something that we have to keep pushing, Bwana Misati. It has to happen at one time, progressively. Thank you.
So you're suggesting that some costs can be allowed to be given receipts. You're coming back to my I always say, pesa ya siasa inanga receipt. So how would you be able to do that? And as a way forward, now, if you are a commissioner of IEBC,
yes,
what would you recommend for us to attain that?
All laws or anything starts somewhere. My thinking is simple, and this goes far, that we must be able to start with the election financing, but agree with the players on the cost drivers and the total amount that can be attributed to those coast drivers. And like I said, there are certain costs, this panel, that may not be able to get receipts. I see the election, the campaign financing bill talking about 20,000 without receipts. But again, is that doable? There are certain costs that may not really be, get receipts. So the agreement, in fact, the biggest thing why there is fear for Campaign Finance Act to be to be effected is that pesa ya siasa inanga receipt. So we can start somewhere. Those that are very clear cost drivers, regulate them, and then agree with the political players or whoever is involved in this that look, up to this level, then we don't need the receipts.
The essence of the campaign financing is to ensure that at least the candidates have almost an equal footing.
Yes.
But let me ask you a question. When you compare candidates, you have one candidate who has been a member of parliament, who has been having a CTF kitty, and other candidates who are just joining the race. From where you sit, is there any disadvantage from these two people, given the way our Kenyans feel?
From where I sit through the chair, Misati, there is, of course, a challenge with that. The incumbency always has a head start on many fronts, not just money. On many fronts, this is a person who has been visible. This is a person who has been serving the people. Either they like him so much or they don't. So already, even without the financing bit, the incumbency enjoys a lot, apart from a case where the incumbent has not done so well. So to level the playing field, in my own thinking, as I get to IBC selected, is to ensure that the campaign financing bill goes through. At least we have a level playing ground in terms of the finances. The other issues of he has used CDF well and all that, incumbents will always have some advantage somehow.
Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Asante.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Fatuma to ask you some questions, please.
Well, thank you, Chairman. Mr. 𝐏𝐡𝐢𝐥𝐢,
Thank you.
could you please describe how the stakeholder roles differ across the three phases of the electoral cycle?
Just 1 minute, come again.
Yeah, I was asking you to describe the roles of how the roles differ across the three phases of the electoral cycle for the stakeholders. For instance, political parties.
Yes, in an election, there are various stakeholders, and their roles actually differ. One of the key stakeholders would be the National Treasury, would be the ministries that are related to this election in terms of interior, ICT, and the rest. Then, of course, you will have, of course, the main stakeholder is the people of Kenya. So we also have donors, and we have observers, and we have, many other groupings that come with this kind of stakeholder management. So one, we have voter education. Under voter education, the key stakeholder would be, of course, if we can be able to get donors to support that, support the venues, support the whole activity. But then the National Treasury has to provide resources. So that is how these two stakeholders would play out, including voter registration. The voter registration and voter education go hand in hand, because at voter registration, the National Treasury has to release money, which is necessary. when we come to registration of candidates, we have the political parties as a real stakeholder in this sense. Then they have a role to play. Of course, they have a kitty to support their candidates if at all the party was able to garner enough numbers. Then the role of these political parties through their liaison would be to ensure that the nomination processes and all that requires the political parties and independent candidates to do it is delivered.
What I'm looking for,
Mm.
are you familiar with the three phases of the electoral cycle?
Yes.
So how does it, how do the roles differ at these three? You can pick maybe political parties, for instance. Look at phase one, what do they do? Phase two, phase three. Then pick civil society, do the same. How do these roles differ? Because their levels of engagement are different in these three phases.
Actually, Madam Satoma, the political parties phase is the phase where you will realize that you have a lot of activity in terms of nomination processes. And you have also disputes that come with that. And the IEBC has to handle some, the political parties tribunal has to handle some. And in this phase, as a stakeholder, IEBC first has to ensure that the necessary codes of conduct for political parties and candidates is achieved. But again, a lot of voter education is required there. For civil society, it's more of I would say I would put it also under donors, voter education, civic education, and they will also get funding directly from donors or directly from IEBC, where the funds have been budgeted for. So that is how I would take it.
Thank you, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask Nicodemus to ask some questions, please.
Thank you. Kai,
Yes.
the IEBC operates in a highly scrutinized and environment where public trust is paramount. Drawing from Article 73 of the Constitution, how do you ensure that the Commission's leadership decisions reinforce impartiality and accountability in electoral processes?
Okay. Thank you, through the chair. I would take it in two ways. Public trust first is something that has to be worked on at IEBC and any other organization, but particularly in this case, IEBC. So looking at Article 73, which is leadership and integrity, I would first start with the item of transparency and accountability. We need to have very clear, as a commission, we have to be transparent enough to the entire nation, to the political players, to the independent candidates, to our donors, and to even the civil society. That is very, very important as a commission. We have to come out very clearly transparent and show accountability of our actions, our activities, and our finances, and how we are using our finances. The other thing is to ensure there is proper governance at all levels of the IEBC, that we have to ensure impartiality in the decisions we make. We have to ensure that there is discipline. We must also, from a very clear thinking, honesty is important in all that we do. So as IEBC commissioners, we have no option other than to ensure that our activities are impartial, with honesty, there is transparency, and the governance aspect must come out very clearly to increase the public trust in our activities. But having said all this, communication is important. This article will be there, other articles will be there, but IBC must be able to communicate when necessary and when important, because sometimes when you don't communicate, it becomes very, very hard to know what is really going on. So I would take it that way.
Thank you, Philip, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. I invite Professor to ask you some questions. Professor Adams, please.
Thank you, Chair. Philip Kakai.
Yes.
Before I go to my specific questions, when you are answering Carol, I got lost on that MBA before a bachelor's. I had the bit of professional experience, but I didn't hear, is it Moi University that would assess that and admit you, or was it an external national body? That wasn't clear to me.
Okay. Let me come back to that. A CPA, after you finish your CPA, generally you are equivalent to several exemptions. But this Moi University was offering exemptions for a management administrative master's. It's not an academic master's. That is clear. So after I had worked for many years and then had qualified as a member of the institute, have my CPA, and then my employer sponsored me to do that management administrative leadership course.
So when you say an academic,
it's an academic because
what does it mean?
What I mean is this: you will realize that I've done another master's.
No. The other master's
Than academic in such a way that you cannot use it to say, now I'm moving from this and I'm applying for this. That's why you have a bachelor's there, and that is now academic.
No. Just answer my question. So when we go to Moi University now,
yes,
the reason why they admitted you,
yes,
without a bachelor's, you're saying it's because the executive MBA was non-academic.
yes. It's like doing the strategic leadership.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, strategic leadership is in Kenya School of Government.
Yes.
It is not a university.
Yes.
So there's a difference.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you. Now let me go to my question.
Yes.
Kenyan law.
Your mic, please. Yeah.
Sorry. Kenyan law emphasizes financial probity among public officers. From a policy perspective, how are IEBC commissioners held accountable in this regard?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Accountability of the commissioners starts from one, you have to submit your wealth declaration, according to me, and you have to submit it be reviewed, and from it, as a requirement of the law, you are supposed to indicate exactly, and after 2 years, again, you are supposed to submit another wealth declaration form. Number 2, IBC commissioners are required, as per the Code of Conduct, to be able to look at the institution and provide guidance from a policy perspective in terms of financial management, compliance with the law, audit issues, and comply with the law. But from where I sit, the first step is you must be accountable by the declaration of wealth that you may have. And then from there, it will be looked at 1, 2, 3. And then, of course, you have to now move and ensure that the leadership and accountability Article 73 is observed, including Article 10 of the Constitution.
Thank you. My last question is on managing internal conflicts. Suppose the Commission is deeply divided over the procurement of election technology that can risk delays. How would you mediate this conflict to ensure timely and credible elections? It's a hypothetical question. Why you to be a commission?
Exactly, Prof. The division in the commission and the delay in procurement. One of the issues in my submissions was consensus building, negotiations skills, mediation skills. I would take time to employ my fellow commissioners based on the time, and if the process has been done, within the law, issues of division should not arise. But I would quickly do a lot of mediation, and the way we operate at the institute and other boards I sit, we avoid the issue of voting, because voting is what brings a lot of division. So consensus building must be achieved through mediation, through interaction with fellow commissioners.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ask the last two questions, please.
Yeah, Philip, usually in the last segment, we ask through the chair high school questions. One of them is usually from your area of expertise, which is clearly in the accounts, finance, and audit. Generally, would that be correct?
Yes, that's my area of specialization.
So if you go to the IEBC, its governance structure is such that you have the chair, commissioners, and the secretariat headed by the CEO. When you go to the Auditor General's office, which is an independent office, what is the governance structure?
Okay, thank you. The governance structure at the Office of the Auditor General, as it is now, of course, there are amendments to the Public Audit Act, which are yet to come into law. But the governance structure is we have the Auditor General at the very top. And then we have the Deputy Auditor Generals with the different functions. You'll find one in charge of. Yeah?
How many?
I think there are 5. We have, yes, there are around 5. Support, audit, public sector, there are several, but around 5. From the Deputy Auditor Generals, now we come down to directors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've answered me. And my last question is, name 2 African countries that were colonized by Portugal. Just 2.
Just 2.
Yeah, just 2.
Through the chair, countries that were colonized by Portugal. Quickly, I can think of Angola, and to Madagascar.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kai. We appreciate the time and the reflections we have had. Do you have any question or comment, kindly?
Thank you very much. Daktari and chair of this panel, allow me to make my one comment in Kiswahili.
Endelea tafadhali. Asante.
I do well in Kiswahili sometimes. So nashukuru sana, nashukuru chopo hili sana kwa kunipa nafasi hii kuja kuulizwa maswali, kuja kujua ni kwamba ni maswali ambayo yanaendeleza nchi. Jambo la pili, nawatakia kila laheri. Kazi hii ni ngumu. Mtakapokaa chini, mtakapomaliza tarehe 25, ndio mpate mtu mmoja, wawili, watatu, wanne, watano, si kazi rahisi. Nawatakia kila laheri. Maulana Mwenyezi Mungu awape neema ndogo ndogo na neema kubwa kubwa. Asanteni.
Tunashukuru sana kwa ombi hilo, na tunatumaini kwamba Mungu atatuwezesha kulifanya hilo jambo.
Asante sana.
Vyeti vyako viko pale mlangoni, na yule ndugu aliyekuleta atakupatia daftari na kalamu na maji ni zako.
Asante.
Na unakaribishwa kwa mankuli ya mchana. Ubarikiwe sana.
Asante. Mankuli sitashiriki.
Okay.
Niko na vikao vingine.
Asante.
Nashukuru sana.
Safari njema.
Asante.
Asante. So hii mambo ya Kiswahili ni ya CPS. Wenyeji. Okay, asante sana. We want to break here for lunch, media. Thank you very much. We have appreciated the morning session. Thank you very much.